get out of the driver's seat, get in the back seat, get in the freaking trunk. That's what this life put me in the trunk. That's what it did. This season put me in the trunk.
Yeah.
Hello,
Welcome
or welcome back,
to the Womanly Podcast.
Where we embrace womanhood in its entirety.
from the hard and awkward conversations.
To the silly and embarrassing moments.
An effort to reclaim and redefine what it means to be womanly in this crazy, wacky world. I'm Delana, the neutral one.
I'm Katie, the morbid one.
And I'm Madeline, the other one. And we're so excited that you've joined us today because there's room for you at our table.
So, grab your favorite drink and let's have a conversation.
That was good enough.
It's like we never quit doing this for 7 months.
Yeah. About that.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back to Womanly for the first time in 7 months.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's been longer than that now. 8 months?
I think so. Yeah.
8 months.
It's
been a while.
Because we died for a little bit.
We
but
did. We
guess
came
what?
back
We're
to
back
life.
now. It's
Yeah.
kind of miraculous, so.
Yeah. You should get really excited about that people, we are living dead in front of you.
Yeah, it's pseudo creepy, but also at the same time really exciting. And yeah, you should just be really grateful that you're here in this space with us right now.
In other words, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You know.
But also we're lying out of our ass right now, so just ignore everything we just said. But we're back. That's what matters is
We back.
we back.
We back.
We back.
Party.
Party to all your friends.
Speaking of partying, what are y'all drinking tonight?
I'm drinking a taro milk tea. Taro boba. That's what I'm trying to say.
My fave.
Boba tea. Taro milk tea.
And it's
Yeah.
purple.
And it's purple. It's very cute.
What are you drinking, Katie?
I'm drinking a lemon sorbet bubbly. She cute too.
Probably not as good as actual
She
lemon
bright.
sorbet. Sorbet. You know.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Sorbet. Sure.
Like we never left.
Yeah, exactly. And I have water.
But what were you drinking earlier?
I already downed a margarita tonight. So obviously this has been a while since we've been together recording an episode. It's been probably about 8 months, give or take. And there are reasons for that. We went on a holiday break and then we just never came back. So
On accident.
on accident,
A lot
but
of things
also it was
happened.
on purpose. Life
Yeah.
happened. And we're here to talk about all of that happened that led to this. But
Yeah.
first, I want to say that we've got 2 episodes from late last year that we had already recorded before the break happened that we were just kind of sitting on. We always planned to record them and release them, and it just never happened. But we do have
Well, we
those.
recorded them, but we haven't released them yet. Yeah.
Yeah, we planned to release them.
Yeah.
And we did have them recorded. So we have 2 that are going to be posted after this episode that are from roughly October, November 2022. So please forgive any sort of information you hear in those that contradict what we're saying tonight, because we're going to be revealing some things tonight that are directly
Yes.
related to things that we had not revealed at that point.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to point that out because the next 2 episodes are some from that time. They're really important. We feel like we had great conversations in them that we want to share still, and that will get us kind of caught up. But it's also important to share because those are, including this one and maybe future ones where Katie guest hosts, those are the last ones that Katie will be in as a permanent co-host with us. And I'm going to let her explain that a little bit to us tonight.
Yeah.
Sad.
It is sad, but sort of my reason for stepping down from Womanly was just the passion just wasn't there. And I really wanted to fill that missing piece with something I was truly passionate about. So probably for the last 3 or 4 months, really, I've been focusing on something else that I'm really, really excited about that I'm pursuing. And I'll talk about that more later, but it is a chapter that's closing, but I'm not going to be gone forever. I'll be
No.
back. And
Yeah, we got you back tonight. So.
Yeah, y'all got me back tonight.
We're working on encouraging you to record the next one with us. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Already trying to
they're
rope
working
her
on
into the
me.
second one.
Yeah,
just casually.
Yeah.
they're working on me, but yeah, I will see you guys back here. It's definitely see you later, not goodbye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
goodbye forever.
Yeah, but I'm very excited to see where these ladies take this podcast, especially in the next, I don't know, year or so. See where they take it and see how they kind of revamp it and reimagine it. So very excited things going on.
Well, we're excited that you're doing something for yourself that you feel passionate about, and that you trusted in us enough to confide in us and make that decision for yourself, and know that we're going to love you and support you no matter what, and vice versa.
And it was a difficult decision deciding to step down, but whenever you just feel that urge, and it's like something that you really feel strongly about, you just know you have to do it.
Yeah,
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it probably wasn't easy either to like see us take such a long break afterwards that you were like, did I ruin the project?
I know.
It's because of me. I'm gone. Quit.
Yeah, which is so.
It was never the
funny.
intention.
Never the intention.
Yeah,
the whole time, me and Madeline were like, okay, we're gonna get back to it, but we just can't do it this month. I got XYZ going on,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So much went on after that. I
Yeah.
feel like it was very timely.
It was,
Exit.
it
It
feels
was.
like just coincidentally, it feels like the nexus of something, but it had absolutely no. Those
Yeah.
things were
Didn't
happening
influence.
regardless.
Yeah.
They were going to happen regardless, but just so happened that you made the decision you needed to prepare yourself for what came after, and then it just kind of gave us the chance to also, on our own end, experience what we needed to experience and learn and grow from what those experiences ended up being. So
we hope that distance made the heart grow fonder.
Yes, we do.
Did you forget us?
Yeah.
It's okay if you did, honestly, but we're here to remind you.
So every week we like to check in with each other in a more creative way than just asking how you're doing. So for this week, I'm asking, how are you taking care of yourself these days?
Madeline, you always laugh at this one.
Go ahead,
Every
Madeline.
time you start asking it, I'm like, no, not again.
Go ahead.
I'm not. Nothing's changed. It's been 8 months. Nothing's changed. No, that's not true. I am pass. No,
Fair.
I think I'm trying to still become very aware of the fact that I don't put myself first as far as my health and just taking care of myself in general, and everything that I need to be doing to support myself and care for myself often ends up being a very, very back burner of like an 18 burner oven type of situation. So I've become even more aware of it, especially as frequently as you ask this question. I think I'm not doing anything daily right now that has significant impact, aside from the fact that I continue to try to understand what my needs are and how to care for myself on a daily basis, and that continually builds on top of itself, and one day hopefully will result in something. And I don't have much else to say to that fact, except I will have more to say about it a little bit more in depth as we talk through this episode, but I'll just leave it at that for now.
I have been decluttering my life.
Oh, that's good.
Ooh, that's satisfying.
Yeah, I had my last therapy session 3 weeks ago. I had seen her consistently for a year, and I felt like at this point I feel good enough to go without therapy for at least a little while. There have been some things that have happened where I'm like, wow, I could really use a session right now. Thankfully, though, I have taken away some tools that I've been able to use in those situations, and I feel pretty good about that. And let's see, what else?
So you're telling us that
rid of
the way you've been taking care of yourself is get rid of us and your therapist. Something about this isn't adding up.
Yeah. These
Shut
don't sound
up.
like good decisions.
Katie.
I'm just kidding.
Shut up.
Oh,
You
I'm
know I
kidding.
have not gotten rid of you guys.
I know. Well, and I do think that the idea with therapy is that the longer you go, the more you get tools that you can cope with life on your own, and then see your therapist. You know, you just call them up if you're like, really, I need this. You know, there's nothing you can always gain something from therapy, even though you feel really good and life's going good for you. You can always gain something from therapy, but there's nothing to say that you're doing yourself harm by not going every single week of your life, even if even when you are feeling good.
I feel like I could find another therapist if I felt like I needed to and see her like once a month or
Yeah.
something like that. But that's not right now.
Just a little tune up every now and then. Go
I
get your
think
oil
everyone needs a little
changed
tune
and
up.
windshield wipers replaced.
A little word dump.
Word up.
Word nub.
Yeah.
Prenup.
Gotta get the more nups.
But yeah, I can't really think of any other circumstance right now that it goes along with decluttering my life. But
You're simplifying is what you're doing.
I'm trying to simplify it and just make it meaningful
Mm-hmm.
and just make it something that I
You're
don't.
getting your feelings hurt more and more as she talks.
The only two things I can think of is this podcast and my therapist.
To make my life more meaningful.
Y'all are the worst.
We're just gonna make sure you're not gonna be too sad when you walk out the doors tonight.
God, yeah, just get a little, just put a little piss in you. That'll do it. But yeah, that's what I've been doing for myself.
Good for you.
Decluttering,
Good for you.
recondoing my life,
Yeah.
and you guys have nothing to do with it.
We mean we're not that important.
Shut
I'm
up.
kidding. Tonight we're talking about something we had on the books for a really long time and always felt very important to us to talk about, but not so much as it does right now.
Yeah, we actually wanted this to be our New Year's episode.
Yeah.
But it feels
8 months ago.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
feels way more timely now.
Yeah.
So-
It does. So the title of this episode that we'll put and the way that we've been referring to it is Let Seasons Be Seasons.
Yeah.
And the way that we've always thought about that is you have seasons in your life, and a lot of times when you're going through them, it feels like the only important thing, the biggest thing that could possibly be going on. And of course, whenever you're on the other side of it, you're like, oh, that was just a season. I was just going through a season.
Yeah.
It's just a phase, Mom.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's really hard to move past that, or it's hard to bring yourself some perspective when you're inside of them. And so this phrase, let seasons be seasons, has been so poignant for us, I think, and especially as we've been going through the last 8-9 months of our lives, because we've had a season. Each of us have had our own independent, really important, difficult seasons that we've gone through, victorious seasons that we've gone through. And what better time to talk about it than now, our first episode back. So I'm going to preface Delena's answer because I think a lot of the things that she's about to talk about related to this
really
check-in
just go
question just go
into-
straight into it. So
Yeah.
how have you been taking care of yourself in the last 8 or 9 months, Delena? And how does it relate to this idea of letting seasons be seasons?
So, this topic was a big one that was on my heart because, as you guys know, if you've listened to previous episodes, I have had a lot of gut health issues. Well, those gut health issues got resolved towards like the last quarter of last year. And then I was feeling literally better than I had ever felt in my entire life for several months after that. And then come February, we were leaving a hookah lounge and I fainted and I went to the ER, and that turned into me seeing my cardiologist about a month later, and I was diagnosed with chronic systolic heart failure. Dun, dun, dun.
Casual.
Yeah, casual. It's looking like it's probably due to a virus. So, because I had a low ejection fraction, and the ejection fraction it was improving. Now it's plateaued at about a 50%, which is a low normal, and especially for my age, but it looks like it's just kind of plateauing at 50 right now. So I've had really major life changes. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I don't smoke anything. I wasn't a regular smoker before, but obviously when the first incident happened, we were at a hookah lounge. So I would sometimes have like hookah casually with friends or something like that. I don't have anything with cannabis in it. I don't do any of that anymore because part of it I know for sure I shouldn't. The other part of it, we don't know if it's good for me, you know? So how I've been taking care of myself is I've been taking it really, really, really slow. I stopped training for a bikini competition because I can't really lift heavy weights right now. I haven't
Well,
worked
you
out.
can, but you might die.
Yeah.
I might seriously hurt myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally might die. If I lift really heavy right now, so I take it really slow. I'm virtually not working out right now. I will get back to that, but there's some other complications. So I haven't worked out in months. But I'm not depressed, and I'm really, really happy about that because I feel like I struggled with depression for a really long time, and I feel like I don't want to say the old me because it's all part of me, but like me back then would have easily taken me down and thrown me into a really bad depression. I've only felt like some days minor depression, and I literally feel like that what is part of what has kept me going is that I haven't fallen into like a deep depression.
Yeah.
I've just like taken this season as a time for me to really, really trust God. And I've been trusting God like every single day. I'm like, have so much faith in my medical team. I also was diagnosed with POTS. So that's throws a whole other thing into this mix, which is postural tachycardia syndrome. And so, yeah, I take my medication. I take things really slow. I lead a very low stress life. Now I even quit my job.
And that's not within that's like in the last 2 weeks.
In the last 2 weeks, this is literally the day that we're recording this. This is my 5th day having no job.
Yeah.
And so I'm just working on passion projects of mine now, and I'm taking my days really slow, and I sleep more than I've ever slept. And the medications are really hard to be on. They're constantly, I'm about to start another one, and I'm not looking forward to it because I'm not looking forward to the adjustment period.
Yeah.
Where often they make, like, one of the ones that I'm on is known for making you really, really tired. 2 of the ones that I'm on, actually, are known for making you really, really tired. So to say that I have had to let this season be a season is
Understatement of the
an
century.
understatement of the freaking century.
Yeah.
That I have literally had to let go of any amount of control that I thought that I had in my life and just let whatever's trying to take the front seat. And I don't want to talk for an eternity. I'll get into like more of what I've learned about this, but that is how I'm taking care of myself these days. Quitting my job and taking my medication and sleeping.
Yeah, and healing.
And not working out
Yeah.
and healing.
All the things that
So-
you, like, I think for the most part, most of us would think none of those things individually are the definition of taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Although I think we all fantasize about just quitting our jobs.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Especially on the hard days. It's like, this is exactly what I need. I need to quit my job.
Yeah.
But quitting your job and being on medication, and especially maintenance medication, being on medication and things like that, I think for the most part, people would not think means you're taking care of yourself. But obviously in your circumstance, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And you are killing it.
Thank you.
You really are. And I'm super, super proud of you because I know very intimately how hard control issues are. And for that to be taken away from you,
Yeah.
and you're told like you have to do this or you will have very serious consequences, it's tough. It's really tough. And you've done so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of felt like not a choice. It's kind of like I either do this or I'm not good for it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm either could die or just things could get worse to a really, like I feel even worse than I do now, you know, type of state, which is where you don't want to be. So, I think in some ways I do still cling on to what I can control, which is following medication directions.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
the
I can
directions from your
control.
doctors.
I can control whether I follow this to a T or not. You know.
Yeah.
So I like cling on to those little things, but yeah. So that's how I'm taking care of myself these days.
Yeah.
Big bomb drop.
Big bomb drop. I know. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah, seriously.
Katie's leaving us and you're dying. Welcome back to Womanly.
Welcome back to Womanly. Woo!
I'm still just me. No.
Madeline's like, I'm still just the careful one.
I'm still just the careful one who worries too much and has a job that sucks the life out of her daily that she loves. No, that leads me, my season that I've been in, and it's so funny because the last episode I edited that's going to go up next, I think the self-improvement one, is one that I was alluding to something changing with my job and that didn't really fully understand what it was. And I had said in the episode that I hadn't told you guys about it yet. And now here we are 8 or 9 months later. And I'm not on both of the new episodes. I'm on one of them. And then Katie's friend Tia joined them for the second one. But here we are 8 or 9 months later, and I'm well into these changes that occurred in my job. And it's just really interesting to have heard myself talking about it in that time period and to have experienced it and honestly, I say I'm the same person. I am not the same person that I was in December last year. I am by no means the same person. I've changed so much. It's all internal. But what ended up happening is I got a promotion. Yay. It's good. Whatever.
Yay.
And I'm leading my own team, and I am now leading the efforts. I'm the event lead entirely through and through on everything that we do. And that's a lot of responsibility. It's a ton of responsibility. And it's a lot more of a visual role within the organization I'm a part of. There's a lot more to answer for, a lot more to be responsible for, and all of that. I ended up hiring 2 positions to report to me. And and this is all something that came. It wasn't like somebody told me that this is what it was going to be and I got to say yes or no. So I came into it incrementally. It was just bits and pieces. At first it was this is possibly what's going to happen, where my boss at the time was potentially going to take a new job and she was arguing to have me go with her into a new position. And that would have totally shaken things up. And I was like, okay, well, that would be different, but sure. And then that didn't happen. She ended up going to the new position, but I stayed where I was at. And with her leaving, they shook up the department and it was a whole reorg. And then it turned out but that was several weeks that it was like, I don't really know what my position is going to be. Are they just going to hire another me? Like it's going to be 2 of us that are doing these things? Or am I going to get promoted into a position and they built a team underneath me? We had no idea what that was going to look like. And so it took several weeks for that to come into fruition, and it ended up being, yes, you're going to be promoted. You're going to have your own team. And then from there, it was, you're going to get this person who's going to be moved under you. And then you were going to hire somebody to replace you in the position that you were previously in. And then several weeks later it was, and you're going to hire another position that's brand new. And so over the course of probably 3 or 4 months, all of this unraveled. And it just, I can't say enough. And actually, it makes me laugh because Delana and I had dinner the other night and we were working on this stuff and with the podcast. And I was voicing to her some things that I've been twisting myself in knots over regarding something that's like 4 or 5 years down the road, probably with the podcast itself.
Oh, yeah, I remember
yeah.
this.
And she looked at me and she goes, I think you're being too careful. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. Have you met me? Like, of course I am. And so for me
literally her response was probably.
Yeah, probably. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're telling me that I was probably being way too careful about something. And I was like, yes, that's who I am. And it's how I've always been. And I think even still to this point at 29 years old, I don't fully understand how much of a careful, cautious person I've always been my entire life. But the honest truth is that I've spent my entire life walking on eggshells and holding my breath because it felt safer than actually breathing in most circumstances in my life. And I've gone through, obviously life throws you things that you can't control, that you just have to either roll with the punches or lock yourself in your room and wait for it to pass. And with my job, I've always felt very much like I had control and a say, because a lot of, you pick the jobs that you apply for, and whenever they give you an offer, you get to choose whether or not you're taking it.
whenever 2020 came around and I lost my job because of COVID cutting funding to our organization, I even had a choice at that point of being reassigned to a different position with a different department within the organization or no longer working, which I would argue actually isn't a choice, because if you're going to choice of making money or not making money, you're going to make money whenever everybody else is, there's not a whole lot of options. But even that, like, that was something that was kind of forced on me in a way. And a lot of those things that have been really difficult have been forced on me. This circumstance was so different in a lot of ways, because as scary and frustrating as it was still something that I made the decision to stick with. And I stuck with it blindly, and I went through it blindly, and I accepted it blindly. And that is so counter to anything I've ever willingly done in my entire life. And for a lot of reasons, I think that's part of the reason why I am a different person today, because I allowed myself to go through that growth cycle alongside that opportunity. But at the same time, I think, stepping into something that really scares you, and it did scare me because it's a lot more responsibility than I've ever had before. I was given something by people who are incredible and who really trusted me with something that, in a way that I don't think I have ever trusted myself, is really incredible. And it just instilled in me something that I really needed. I didn't realize I needed, but I really needed. And I allowed that to change me. But it's changed me in a good way, because I trust myself more. I know that I can get through things differently than I ever thought I could before. And it's obviously widened my ability to interact in a space and to challenge myself. Just being a boss and being a supervisor over whole human beings. I've done that with part-timers. I've done it with interns. I've done it with volunteers and temporary workers for events. But to have a full-time individual, let alone 3 of them, and a contractor that report to you, it's a whole other level that I just didn't anticipate it being as difficult as it was, or whether it was difficult or not, for it to change me the way that it has. And I feel really proud of myself for going through all of that. And it's still a struggle every day. I mean, I think to be a leader and to be somebody trying to be a good leader, you have to recognize that you're horrible at what you're doing, that none of it comes naturally, and that a lot of it is denying your own desires or inclinations or thought processes in preference of the whole of the team, the goal, and everything. So there's just been a lot of change as far as all of that goes. But at the same time, there's been some things that are not really a change. Like, I still am who I am. I still have the health problems that I have, and I'm still working through solving the same things I was trying to solve back then, because these things take time. And it's just been an interesting 8 or 9 months, because the season I've been in has been very much work focused, and that's not really different saying it out loud. That's just kind of how my life is and how my career is. But at the same time, I've had to really redefine myself in that space, and my goals and my priorities in that space, and be really proud of how I'm able to interact with it, even if it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be or the way that it was going to look. So that's where all of my attention has been the last 8 or 9 months, has been on this huge change that happened, on building my team and kind of building the direction of what it's going to look like and how we're going to create these events for people. And it's been really, really fun. And I've done things I'm super proud of. I've done things I'm not proud of, but I just can't imagine in the next 8 or 9 months what it's going to look like then, whenever I've got more time under my belt in this position and leading the people that I'm leading. And yeah, I think it's really important that we took the break we did, because otherwise I don't think I would have fared as well through all of this, and really gave myself the time to experience the change that I needed to experience, and give myself the grace and the rest that I needed on the days that were hard, because a lot of it can be really confusing, and you can question yourself a lot and question others and question your whole life's plan some days. But
Yeah, I'm looking back on it, and like I'm on the other side of it. I feel like I'm on the other side of it, and that I'm not as confused and frustrated as I may have been. I'm certainly not as frantic and neurotic as I was those first few months. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a good spot now that I can look back on it and really appreciate the depth that exists in all those lessons that I learned, and that I will forever be changed because of it. Like I feel like I could take on any role now and be really comfortable with what that means to me as a human being and as a career woman going forward.
Yeah.
It's like a whole metamorphosis. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That was crazy.
Yeah. It's just been hard.
Yeah. You've expanded.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Probably like
Absolutely.
one of the biggest yeses you ever had said in your life.
The biggest stressors?
The biggest yes.
Oh, the biggest yes. Yeah. Absolutely. No, this to me, it feels very much like cliff jumping or cliff diving or bungee jumping. No, it's not even bungee jumping. It's just jumping off a bridge, not knowing what's going to happen. And instead of a running jump, it was slow steps and then a very janky, lopsided, turning midair kind of fall into it. And I'm glad I did it. I really am. But it's been quite a lot to parse and process and grow through. I mean, it's taken a while.
Do y'all think it's hard to let seasons be seasons?
Yes.
Absolutely.
It is.
Sometimes.
I think I've gotten better at recognizing that. I think just the older you get, the more that you're like, life changes, and sometimes I just need to let it change. So I think that I've gotten better at recognizing when things need to change and accepting it, but it's still hard. Yeah, it's still really hard.
It just depends on what the season is for me. Because there's some things that I'm like, boy, am I glad that's over. I don't want to go back to that. But then I think there are other things that you change so much within it that it almost kind of becomes your identity in a way, and you can't let go of it because it's so deeply instrumental
To like who you are.
Yeah,
now as a
it's played such a
person.
huge part in your growth and into creating you to be the person that you are at that time that you almost can't let go of it and let it be a part of your past and not be something you're carrying with you.
This particular season it's been hard to be like present and like see the fruit and the growth that's happening here when all you're feeling like you're doing is just waiting and waiting for answers, for things to come to fruition, dreams, other stuff. You know, it's just like especially when you're in a season of like waiting. For instance, Bryce and I have been in the season of waiting to find a house, and we've been through 5 lenders now who have been like, we can't help you. And so it's just like in the back of your mind, like, okay, what's wrong? Like, but then you stop and you're like, okay, nothing's ever about you, like just stopping and realizing that like God has a hand in this, and like it's gonna make you better, like even though waiting is like so hard and no after no after no, including God, like this is his way of like telling you no, and it's like
or not
the
yet.
hardest, or like not yet. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Is just like not yet, not right
or
now,
not this. Yeah.
Yeah, this season it's been a hard one. It's been hard, like I said, to be present and like stay positive and stay fully aware of like God's hand. And so I'm still very much in it, this is me saying I'm trying to let this season be the season that it is, and like realize that I don't want anything God has for me, and I want everything that he does. Like I don't want anything that he doesn't have, and I want everything that he does in his timing, but it's not my timing. Like if it were my timing, like we would have had a house like last year and like some other stuff. It's just one of those things. But also in this season, like God has really worked in our lives and answered big prayers, like praying for Bryce a new job and getting a new job and within a week of looking for it. You know, like that was a huge answer to our prayers, and it's in a really central desired location where we live, and it's allowing us to move out of the city like we wanted to, that we've always kind of envisioned for ourselves. Yeah, I think in this season there's also been like trying to figure out what's wrong with my back and why am I in so much chronic pain, and trying not to be on medication because it's also causing other issues like liver issues and like all the stuff that comes with like taking over-the-counter medication for chronic pain. So then you go to physical therapy and it doesn't work. So then you have to do other stuff and MRIs and go to a neurologist and figure out what's wrong
Listen
with
to
that.
Carrie Underwood.
I know when you asked for Taylor Swift.
Yeah, guys. Yesterday I had an MRI.
Such a funny story.
I had an MRI, and I won't go into details, but basically, you know, they put those headphones on you and they're like, do you have any preference of music? And I'm like, well, yeah, give me some new Taylor Swift, you know, because I know every song on her album. And my coping mechanism was you know, I know all of her songs. I know the duration. And they didn't really tell me how long I was going to be in there. So I was like, okay, well, it can't be more than 4 songs, right? And so I'm sitting there, I'm laying there. I'm like already in the machine. I'm super nervous for one. I'm like trying to talk myself out of a panic attack. And Carrie Underwood comes on. And I wanted to scream, "Wrong blonde." What are you people doing to me? Honestly, having Carrie Underwood sing in my ears was almost worse than the MRI itself.
I drove my key into the side of his
Pretty little super 4-wheel drive.
I'm so glad that we can.
carve my leg. She's just like jumping and twitching. Don't move. Don't
Giving
move.
her PTSD.
I actually don't remember what song it was. It wasn't that one though.
Yeah, that would have been
Jesus,
nice,
take
wouldn't
the
it?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Honestly, I wish I could remember which one it was.
Oh, that's so
Jesus,
funny.
take the wheel.
It was.
Yeah.
It wasn't
definitely.
even 2 of the ones that you knew.
Hey, at
Right?
least
Yeah.
it wasn't Mariah Carey Christmas. Like, that would be my
I would have
nightmare.
been down for that.
Really?
I
Nah.
think, honestly, closing my eyes and listening to that Mariah Carey sing whatever.
All I
Yeah.
want for Christmas is you.
I could have just transported myself to like Christmas morning or something.
No. I'm so excited for the two of y'all. I just feel like there's some sort of static in the air surrounding what y'all have got going on right now. And it's just moments away of being everything that you've ever hoped for and dreamed for.
Thank you. I will say I'm more hopeful than I was 8 months ago,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because I think that some things and some prayers are being answered. And if they're not answered in my way, in my timing, just like they haven't been so far, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's just another thing that God's trying to teach us and show us who He is. But yeah, I took a huge long break off social media as well. I took a year off of social media, and it was just what I needed, honestly. It cleared my head. Y'all, my screen time went down like 6 hours a day.
Wow. Dang. That's huge.
Pretty embarrassing to say, honestly.
No, but on it, we all have it though.
Yeah.
You know, it's not unique.
So
That's crazy.
I occupied myself with other things. I took up reading. I got a Kindle, and that's been really great.
I've been playing banjo.
I have been studying music and playing banjo, and that's been really fun and good for me. I go to Bryce's grandma's house to practice in her little music parlor. And
So cute.
I've had the privilege a couple times of she'll come in and like play on her piano and like we'll hit like a tune or something together. But
So cute.
it's been really sweet and really fun.
Do you feel like you've become, like, after giving up social media for so long, do you feel like you became generally more curious about life?
Definitely. Yeah, I just think that social media is really dangerous to your curiosity, and like dangerous in the way that like, where's life? You know, it's all very thought out and
Strategic.
Sorry. Yeah.
But it's very thought out and strategic.
Yeah, very thought out, very strategic. And I was just tired of being in that world. I didn't want to be thought out and strategic. I wanted to live and feel a little bit of freedom and youth, to be honest.
Yeah.
And just get all of the negative comparison and all of the junk that comes with this era, honestly, that
Yeah.
we're in. The era of social media, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And so I went as long as I felt like was a healthy duration to be off of social media, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I got back on in May. And I've got a healthy relationship with social media. I just wanted to see my friends again, post every now and then on my story, let friends in on what I'm doing with my music and stuff. And that's really, really the only reason I use that space right now, is just to keep up with friends. And like I said, I feel like I have a healthier relationship with it. I'm not scrolling 6 hours a day or posting every single day. I don't feel like I have to do that to like, you know, prove myself to anybody. That's really the point, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of people feel like they need to prove themselves to somebody or the world. And that was a lot of how I kind of felt too. And since I wasn't really in like a particular place to prove myself to the world, because in my head I was like, ugh, I don't have kids. I don't have a house. I don't have like ABC. I don't have, you know, it's just like one of those things where it's like, it just became unhealthy because I was just comparing myself
like
to
if I
others.
don't have these things, then I don't have anything.
Yeah, I'm not fulfilled.
Yeah.
I'm not, what am I doing with my life? Why am I here? What was I made for?
Yeah.
You know? Like the song in Barbie, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just been listening
It's a
to that song a
Billie
lot.
Eilish song that's really good. It will ruin your life.
It will ruin
It
your
will
life
ruin your
forever.
life.
I've heard it all over TikTok, and it
It's
makes me sad
so
every
good.
time I hear it. I have obviously had quite the season. My entire life has turned upside down. And it was funny because that came right off the back of my life flipping upside down. So like my life flipped
Yeah,
upside
you
down,
had some
and then it just
back-to-back.
kept rolling.
Yeah, you did some cartwheels. Like,
I was doing cartwheels over the past year, 12 months. And yeah, it's been really crazy. I feel like the biggest thing that I took away from this is that I want to say this hoping that it strikes well, but I felt like God knew that I needed this. God knew that I needed this illness. And I know that that can sound really dark, especially for those that are in the midst of suffering. So if you do not feel that way, if you are angry towards God right now, if you even believe in God, that's okay. I am not trying to make you feel differently right now. I personally feel like this was the scariest time in my life, but it highlighted a lot of things. It highlighted, I had some family that was very close to me that did not reach out to me during the time, and it provided the opportunity for me to bring up some issues with them. They didn't reach out to, say to check on me and how I was doing. And I wasn't thinking about it at the time because I was in such a fog, of my heart was failing. I had to wear a life vest, which is a wearable defibrillator, for a couple months when my heart was at its worst. And they never checked on me one time. They never even reached out for any encouragement, or
They never acknowledged it.
they didn't even acknowledge it.
Not a
really.
single time. Yeah.
And so, and I brought that up to them, and I think progress has been made. And I think it maybe even opened the door for us to talk about things more in the future, or maybe have more of a relationship in the future. But that happened, and I even felt like that was needed. I felt like I have learned through this season the most that I actually believed that I was my own savior. That I was my own saving grace. And if anyone was going to get me out of a situation, it was going to be me. And this season taught me that I am not my own savior. There are some things that are so beyond your own control and your own comprehension, and even things just as simple as having to put trust in doctors.
Yeah.
That they were covering all corners that they could possibly need to be covering in order to ensure that I was getting answers and that I was safe, and just trusting the doctors and trusting, my family, and really trusting that if something went really south, that the people that I was surrounded with would handle it well. If I passed out again and was unconscious for a while, that people around me would know what to do. You feel so helpless in those situations. And I think I really learned for the first time that I cannot fully rely on myself. I was somebody that grew up fully relying on myself. Like, it was built into me from a young age that I was going to feed myself. I was going to make my own money. My parents never paid for my car payment or car insurance or anything. I paid from that ever since I had a car. And I moved out when I was 18. Like, everything I felt like I had built single-handedly, knowing that God played a part in it, but I think ultimately I really believed that I did it. It was me, and I was the one that held all the power there. And if it wasn't for me, I wouldn't be here,
Yeah.
And so I think I had this major God complex going on. And to be quite honest, because of other things that had happened in my life, completely aside from the heart failure that had happened previous to the heart failure, I was a very angry person. I was processing through a lot of hurts. Honestly, like right as we started this podcast, I was processing through some of the deepest hurts, and I was a very, very angry person. And this day, I am probably the most peaceful person I have ever been in my entire life.
It's
And
amazing.
I really believe that it is because of what this season has shown me. This season literally told me, you can't, and you're not supposed to, And so it's time for you to get on your knees and let somebody else help you. It's time for you to let go of the driver's seat or whatever, get out of the driver's seat, get in the back seat, get in the freaking trunk. That's what this life put me in the trunk. That's what it did. This season put me in the trunk.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that.
And made me realize that I was not made. It made me realize the power of God, and it made me realize the sovereignty of God. It also made me realize the importance and the value in community.
Yeah.
As strange as that may sound, coming from what I've experienced over the past, this entire year so far, pretty much past 5 months, I would say. So I am very, very, it is easier for me to say, easier now more than ever, that I can accept that seasons need to be seasons, because I think that without seasons, how will you grow?
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
I agree.
without, if life were to consistently stay the same forever, first of all, how freaking boring would that be?
really boring. I think I might like it a little bit.
Yeah.
To an extent, I think I might like that a little bit. But I think even I would get bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, if seasons didn't change, like, you wouldn't gain new knowledge, you wouldn't gain new skills, you wouldn't be pushed to your limits, you wouldn't grow at any capacity. Plants don't even grow without seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen.
It's true.
So I think that it's incredibly important to understand that you are not going to be able to do your life the same forever or even
Yeah.
a long time. you know, I think that most of our life moves in these shorter seasons that we I think don't even fully recognize sometimes because we're so busy just dealing with them.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, I fully accept now that seasons need to be seasons. And I am so humbled now to say that I want to let seasons be seasons. Like, I genuinely mean that. I like welcome.
Yeah.
Like, please, because these seasons that are happening clearly have so much more for me than I think there is to gain, you know? And so I'm just going to let you do your work because you know far more than me.
There's so much fruit and worth to be noticed in every season.
Well, I think you struck on something really important, and that sometimes we don't recognize something as a season while we're in it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we get through 3, 4, 5 different seasons without fully recognizing and honoring the fact that it is a season that you are in. And it could be because, like you said, you're so busy handling it. You're so busy dealing with whatever that season is bringing you.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that sometimes 3, 4 seasons can feel very similarly to one another.
Yeah.
Very, very similarly to one another, and that you're just kind of like moving through it without recognizing differences between them. And I think it's important to start being able to understand that a little bit more so that you can really gain the most out of them as you possibly can, because then if you're really in the mindset of understanding something as a season while you're in it, then you don't spend so much time 3, 4, 5 years down the road trying to unpack everything that you just learned in all those different seasons that you missed. You've really got to get to the point where you're honoring those seasons, recognizing them, and learn those lessons as they come, and let those seasons be seasons when you're in them.
Yeah.
And be better at understanding when one stops and one starts. So I think that's a really important point, is that sometimes there's been a lot. I mean, last year, I think we were talking about, there's been periods in my life where I'm looking back at 8, 9 years of seasons that I've gone through. And then I'm sitting there and I'm trying to unpack 8 or 9 years of different seasons.
Yeah.
Sometimes seasons overlap one another. I mean, it gets really, really complicated. So this is important stuff that we're talking about. And I think a lot of it comes with maturity. I think a lot of it comes with having gone through a bunch of different seasons to the point that you start recognizing that's what they are in order to really be able to live, not just live in them, but live with them and with the knowledge of what they are and what they should be and what they should mean to you. So, I mean, I say all of this saying that, like, I can acknowledge this last 8 months of my life as being a season, but it's not always that easy. It's not that black and white to be able to say one way or another, this is a season and this is a lesson I got out of it. And this is what I'm taking into the next season. It's never that simple.
Right.
At least not in the beginning. So if this is something you're coming at for the first time, you're like, I've never really thought about seasons that way, then that's totally fine, because a lot of times it's not that simple to identify something as a season until you're on the end, you're at the end of it, or you're several other seasons down the road that you look back and you're like, that
time
makes
in
a
my
little bit more
life.
sense now. Yeah, this is coming up for me and making more sense in this context. So sometimes even seasons can be bookends of a bigger season, and it's just all, I mean, it's all just kind of really complicated, but it's also really, really cool.
And I think it's cool that whenever you think about life that way, you can take comfort in it. I think sometimes it can cause anxiety whenever you're in a really happy season and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I know this is not going to last forever.
Right.
And it probably won't.
Yeah.
It won't. I'm just going to say it straight. It won't last forever.
Something around the corner this way
There-
comes.
It won't last forever because it's not supposed to last forever, because you are deeper and more of a dynamic human being than that one thing lasting forever.
Yeah.
And so also, but I also think I take a lot of comfort in letting seasons be seasons now, because obviously I've just gone through, I think, probably the hardest season of my life in ways. I would say in other ways, it wasn't the hardest part of my life, but I take comfort in it because whenever things get really hard, I can take comfort in letting seasons be seasons and saying, this is not going to last forever.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
may last for a short time. It may last for a long time, but it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
And, even if my heart failure is a long-term issue, it's not going to operate the way that it does now forever. It could get
Right.
better, could get worse. That wouldn't be fun, but it could get better, And but the only thing moving that I can look forward to from here is that medications are going to advance.
Yeah.
Doctors are going to get more knowledgeable about
You're gonna
things.
get more knowledgeable.
I'm going to get more knowledgeable about things. There's just only more to be discovered from here, even in the face of scary situations. And I can take comfort in the fact that it is a season, and the hardships that I'm dealing with, the medication that I have to adjust to right now isn't going to last forever, because it's just a season
Yeah.
and life moves in seasons. So
Yeah,
I
it
can
does.
know for a fact that things will change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a comfort.
It is. I think you can also recognize that in some way you can influence your own seasons. That, like, if you're in a season or in a relationship where it's really not healthy, I know I teased about that earlier, but if you're in a relationship that's really not healthy for you and you're starting to recognize that for the first time, or a job that's not healthy for you, or you're in a career that you just are not passionate about, or whatever else, you can make decisions that then influence what the rest of your seasons look like, because you can't choose to just stay where you're at.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's fair to say that that is a choice.
Yeah.
I think some people really don't have a choice in that matter, that they're doing the best they can with what they're given. But I think a lot of times we do choose to stay exactly where we're at. And because of that, you tend to stay in seasons, or you tend to stay in seasons longer than you were ever meant to, or you stay fluctuating through very similar types of seasons when you have the ability to choose something different for yourself. And it may not always be better. Sometimes it's going to be worse. And if you're leaving something that you become comfortable and accustomed to, it's going to be really hard at first, but you do have some control over what those seasons look like. And I think you can also somewhat predict them too. Like, I think sometimes you can feel the good ones coming, and a lot of times the bad ones come and knock the breath right out of you and you just don't expect them. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of power in recognizing that those are things that you can both influence and predict in some ways too. And there's some comfort in that as well.
Yeah. And don't ruin the good seasons by like having
Yeah.
anxiety over them. Accept that they will not last forever, and just tell yourself that, like, this is my time to really revel in this season.
Yeah, it
that
makes
I'm
it
in.
better, I think. It can
And just
make it
like,
better.
this is my chance. I know that this is not going to last forever. And so this is my chance to just soak it all up. Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
let that be. Something you said there made me think that. But
Let
yeah.
the good season
Yeah.
be the good season.
Let the good season be the good season
Yeah.
too.
And let the bad season be the bad season.
And know that it won't last forever.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us on this episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks for
perfect.
having me and asking me to come on this episode. I think it was a perfect one to step out of.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for you.
I am
Thank
too.
you. Thank
Excited
you.
to have you back very
Thanks.
soon. And remember, we do have 2 more episodes with you.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. So this is technically your last episode, but not really.
But you guys will hear her a couple
Yeah.
more times
Past
before she's
me.
gone.
Yeah.
So you'll hear this episode, and then you'll hear the 2 older episodes that we already recorded, and then after that, she's a
guest
goner.
host. Yeah.
I will be.
And then after that, her life will become more meaningful.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much for joining us again, and thanks for being patient with us as we had our break. I know there's not a lot of you right now, but there's enough that I think our absence was felt. And we definitely felt it. And we're glad to be back.
Yeah.
So until next time, remember to wear your sunscreen.
Drink your water.
And be kind to yourself.
We love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us again for this week's episode of the Womanly Podcast. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media to hang out with us in between episodes and see pieces of our conversations that we don't get to include in these episodes, plus all of our bloopery humanness. We're on Instagram at Womanly Pod and TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter at Womanly Podcast. We hope to hang out with you more there. Have a super womanly week.